We're back. Forget it seen.
Hello.
The simplest way to accessible design, and this is our last episode.
Can you believe it? It took us
I
a bit,
know.
but we got here.
We had a few weeks off and on because of travel and sickness and other things, but 10 episodes we've done, and I'm very proud of us.
I know. I think we touched on a lot of important topics, and I think that the seeds were sown. We've had people that have come regularly, and someone's watching now. I don't know who it is, and friendships were made and courses were purchased. I don't know if June is here, but June is such a valuable new friendship that I've made largely from these encounters that we've been having on Thursday mornings for you and afternoons for me.
Right. I forgot to post this in post status, so I'm doing that right now.
That'd be why. Yeah, I mean, I have, as you know very well. I've said a few times that I'm preparing this course on accessible design and content. And one thing that is very, very clear to me, I mean, I've always known it, but it's even clearer now, is that either you create the content, or you market it. There are not enough hours in the day to do both. And also, not everyone is good at it, and I'm definitely not good. So I'm now, that's my point. I will just do the content and then, sort of put it out there and let it to the universe. Leave it to the universe.
If you build it, they will come.
It's not exactly the way it works online, but so I have pre-sold it a bit, and I am building it now. But I am also doing it a little bit because it's so important to me that I would do it anyway. It doesn't mean that I want to do things for free. I don't. Nobody should. But I'm yeah. Anyway, I am. Was a long ramble. So our topic today, the last day, best for last, I would say.
Animations.
And
I think
indeed.
Oftentimes when people think of animation, they think of, cartoons, like movies. They don't think necessarily animated GIFs and things like that, but animations covers more than just Saturday morning cartoons. So there's a lot to it.
Definitely, especially now that the web is very much evolved, and you can create animations in so many different ways. Anyone can create an animation. Unfortunately, from my point of view, and it's one of those things where immediately I think, just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's one of the of those situations where this saying really applies itself to it. And I just want to explain why. There's a talk that I have that is more or less on anime. It's not just on animations, but it's the main focus is that. It's also about how my bugbear that you can be creative and not use animations. You don't have to use animations to be creative on the web. Trust me, you really don't. Mm-hmm. However, a lot of people equate that. So that's why the talk was created and born. And the story that I tell at the beginning is that I found out, I know animations make me sick. If a GIF plays nonstop, I get sick. If you send me an email with GIFs in it, in an email, you can't stop it. In most other places, you can stop the GIF, but in an email, you can't. And if you send me an email with a GIF in it, you make me sick. And I'm not saying a little sick. I almost have to get up and go to the bathroom. I mean, I feel very, very, very dizzy.
It's almost like motion sickness, like car sickness.
It is very strong car sickness. And I didn't know what I had. I had no idea. And I found out. So I had this talk that I gave for the first time at UX Copenhagen in 2023. And I had kind of had the talk, but I was missing. There was a missing link. There was something. And then this thing happened. I had to go to my local hospital for a minor emergency, but it was something that required me to wait for exam test results for quite a few hours. And what are hospitals like? You are under strip lights. They're very bright and they're strip lights. And also, it was still pandemic time, so I was still wearing a mask. And I mean, now by default, I always wear a mask in a hospital. But anyway, and I suddenly had a fit. I was kind of on the floor writhing and feeling the sickest I felt in my entire life. And it should be said that I don't really suffer from stomach. I'm not the type of person that is prone to being sick to my stomach. Never. It never happens. I had never felt that sick. Now, the good thing was that I was in a hospital. That came in quite handy. So they were like, oh, okay, someone deal with this. And they put me in a ward with lighting that was less bright. And I had by no means made a connection yet, but I was really sick for hours. And they took all the tests and it came back and they were just like, look, there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, I was there for a mild infection and that was there. But they were like, just leave. There's nothing wrong. We can't find anything. There is nothing. You don't have any foreign body inside you. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Which in a way was reassuring, but I was like, I am really, really sick though. And my niece was here visiting. So long story short, she came. I said, you need to pick me up. There's no way I can even be in a taxi by myself. She came and picked me up and I pushed me to the entrance of the hospital, back under the strip lights. And there I was, sick again. So in that moment, the taxi with my niece in it arrived. I was like, we need to go right now. And we went off and I had to get this taxi to stop on the way. And that's something super unusual for me. So when I got home, I was like, what on earth was it? Apparently it's nothing. So I made the connection because then a couple of days later, I went in a bar and it had the strip light and almost immediately triggered it. And I researched it. And it turns out that when you have a vestibular disorder, the frequency of neon lighting triggers attacks. There are really it's not quite an epileptic attack. I don't want to say that. It wasn't like that, but it was super strong. And the good thing that was that now when I go and I have to wait in a hospital, I go to the counter and say, I've got a vestibular disorder. And like, right, okay, you go first because they know I can't be under the lights.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. But I knew that I had a vestibular disorder because I liked to do free diving, but I could never go deep. And so I went and got myself tested by a specialist. And he said that I had a chronic inflammation in my ears due to pollution. He said, I bet you live in a big city. I was like, yeah, at the time I lived in London and I cycled everywhere. So that's how I found out. And that provided a fantastic intro to the talk. So that I was like, oh, see, that was not so bad. Because then the talk actually starts with a free diving story and it makes for a fun intro. But so that's why, and it's an invisible illness, and I'm by no means the only one. There's lots of people that have a different thing. They maybe don't have a vestibular disorder, that have some other neurological disorder. Dave's here. Hello. But they are really affected, really, really affected. It is way more common than you may think. And in fact, I was just at Hatch conference in Berlin back in September, and I met this designer who was teaching a workshop on animation. And I told her, I don't know whether we would get on because I have a vestibular disorder. I get really sick. So I don't know how you teach animation. She was like, no. My wife is like you. She gets really, really sick. So I teach accessible animation. I was like, oh, this is amazing. It's the first I hear of it. So that's the whole thing is, do not equate creativity with animation. And actually I have, because the point is think of all the museums, like the most famous museums in the world, like the Metropolitan in New York, the Uffizi in Florence, the National Gallery in London. None of the works in there move, but they're
Right.
still very, very creative. So let's not equate movement with creativity on the web these days, because that's kind of what happens. And I am going to show, if I may, an example. So
Sure.
I'm going to show a couple of examples when I make a point of how accessibility and making certain things accessible that are not inherently born to be accessible, but are very creative, is actually an improvement. We've made that point a few times. We're going to
Nice.
make it again.
Yes.
I'm in Chrome. Yes, good, because as you know, yeah, it's working. Okay, so this is a painting. It's a medieval painting from the 14th, early 14th century, of a knight. It's Saint George on a horse, slaying a dragon, and there's the princess on the side. I won't go into. Usually, I describe very in detail when it's an image, but the point that I want to make is that this is a painting, so it's inherently not accessible unless someone does a very, very good audio description of it. There is no way that you can have a physical interaction with it unless someone does a braille version of it next to it, which is a fully tactile version. It's like a bas relief it's a sculpture, basically. And this is in a museum in Italy, in Bologna. And there are various other museums that do this. But can you imagine if every work of art had its braille equivalent? Isn't it amazing? It's something that gives. So this is actually not a big painting. I can imagine that with very big works, it would be complicated, or with very abstract works that don't have a two, 3 dimensions to it. However, it could be creative to create a braille version that actually recreates the same experience or a similar experience to visual. So that's why I'm saying something that I'm saying, an example that I'm using to say, look how this makes it better for everyone, not just for blind people who can't see the original.
It reminds me of a story that I saw probably in the last few years of a blind woman who went to have her ultrasound when she was pregnant. Of course, her husband could see the ultrasound. She couldn't. And somebody made a 3D print of what was in the ultrasound so she could feel it and therefore experience what other people were seeing with their eyes. I thought it was wonderful.
That is completely wonderful. I actually this is actually I more than the presentation, I need to show the website for this. Is it going there? The link, yes. So another example, it's an example of that doesn't do this, but on the web. So I'm going to change the presentation because this is actually a website and it still exists. No, I don't. Sorry. Stop screen. That's what I want to do. Share screen. Once again. This is the one. Okay. So this is something that is trying to do. It's a website that won an award in, I think, 2023. It's by the Getty Museum, who do a lot of digital work, and very little of it is accessible, Michelle, I'm afraid.
Oh, no.
And I know, it's such a shame. And this is such a good example. It's still valid 2 years later. It's one of the best examples. It won an award. It's a website on an exhibition of Mesopotamia, some extraordinary objects from an exhibition at the Getty Villa. And it's trying to do the digital version of what the 3D version of that medieval painting is doing, but it doesn't quite work, and I'll tell you why. So it says at the bottom, please scroll. And if I do scroll, all I have to do is scroll. Some text appears about Mesopotamia. It doesn't actually tell you when it was or where it was, by the by. That's not, but not everybody knows where Babylon was. It's like in Central Asia, more or less. But why would you know? And now there's a detail of one of the pieces, which was, it's a panel with a striding lion in glazed ceramic tiles from around 600 before 600 years before the birth of Christ. And it just carries on, and some a text comes up with an explanation, and you get into more detail into various objects that are 3D rendered, and they move around, and there's more text. Sometimes the text is actually on a transparent panel. Finally, we get a map. It's not quite yet Central Asia. It's like where modern Iraq is, and little bits of Syria, and down to the Persian Gulf, where I believe Kuwait is there. Anyway, that's where Mesopotamia is, and it just carries on. And then it gets you to the room where the objects are, and you get into the room and you get closer to the various objects and so on. I'm going to kind of stop, because that's all that happens. You get closer to an object and it gives you detail. You get closer and closer into detail, and it gives you information about the object. But it's not like this is the entire extent of the interaction right now is me scrolling. You can either use the arrows on your keyboard, or you can scroll with your mouse or with your trackpad, but all I'm doing is scrolling. There is no real interaction. The interesting thing is, if I try an automated test with Wave, it tells me it has one contrast error and it has one accessibility error. When I go to the structure, there's no structure. There's just one heading. But when you ask someone using a screen reader to check this website out, what they tell you is that there is nothing there. There is zero, absolutely nothing. And this website won an award on the, I think it was a Webby Award. And all the web awards are where I go and pick my examples of bad accessibility, which is
well, I mean, I can understand why people would think it was innovative, how you could stroll while you scroll, so to speak, right through the museum. You can kind of use your mouse for looking at 360 around, things like that. I understand why some people would say, wow, this is a really great website, as long as they're not thinking at all about accessibility. Because it is a really cool way to view a museum if you can't physically go to a museum, but it's not accessible, and so therefore it's not a good example of accessibility.
No, but also when you think about it, there is, like I said, there is nothing interactive. This is basically a 3D render in a sort of vertical line. That's it. There's nothing. Yeah. You can't make anything happen. There is no real interface. There's nothing there. So my question is, couldn't this be a video instead?
For sure.
Only reason why they did a website instead of a 3D video is that the 3D video would not have won an award. They wanted to win a web award. So if it had been a video, it could have had a narration, and it would have been much more accessible.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It would have had, so why not do the accessible thing? Why not try and do what the brow version of the painting, so to speak, was trying to do? So this is an example that I like to make, because then when people think about it, they're like, yeah, actually, you're right. So what has happened here, the reason why it's not a video, is that technology now is evolved enough that this is an effect that is possible to obtain, and therefore it's normal that artifacts are influenced by a new technology. It's happened all the time. When oil painting happened, then the style changed. Now paintings were way more into detail. The punk aesthetic is all based on what was around at the time. Technically, it's normal. But the thing also that is really important to remember about animations on the web and websites that use a lot of animation is that a website, an app, a digital product exists to be interacted with. You learn, for instance, here it's to learn, it's to inform, to complete a task. It has a reason to exist. On the other hand, a video, a film, a moving image exists to be passively received. There's no interaction required. So that's the fundamental difference. If you're creating something that basically doesn't need any form of interaction, make it a video. It's very, very simple. And also, I actually, one point that I like to make is that I don't hate animation and I don't get sick with all animations. It's only animations that I can't stop that make me sick.
Right.
It's important to say, and actually, interestingly, the slides that I'm about to share use my old typeface that is not as accessible as the typeface I use now. But I'm going to stop the current screen and I'm going to use another screen. Share screen. I think that's the right one. Yeah. So the important thing is when we talk about animations, so that we say something that's helpful as well. There are two types of animation. The first type of animation is non-dynamic and non-interactive, like GIFs, like autoplay animations. And here I put creative agencies' websites because there's most creative agencies' websites have an animation that you can't stop. So I was being a bit sarcastic there because previously in the presentation I show a few. And then the other type of animation is dynamic, interactive, and dependent on user input, which the Mesopotamia website to a point is, because in order to make it happen, I have to scroll down or press on the arrow. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. So these are the two types of animations that we need to think about. Basically, GIF and autoplay, just don't do them. That's that is a rule of thumb, because these visuals are actually invisible to so many people. I think that with a GIF, I think that on Twitter you can probably put alt text on a GIF. Can you do that? I'm sure that a lot of platforms allow for that. Yeah. But otherwise, in an email, a GIF is just something that is going to make me sick. That's for sure. Yeah. So whenever it's not, an animation can absolutely improve the UX. And there are cases, the good uses of animation are when it reduces cognitive load because it's showing something that is happening. It improves decision making because it shows, for instance, that it gives you those animations that maybe give you a green tick to show that you've completed the first part of your task. It can help the storytelling. For instance, Stripe has very good use of micro animations, but they always stop. That's the point. Those animations stop. And so this way they improve usability. And also, and this is not something that I take lightly, animation that improves the UX also entertains and delights, because why not? It's an important element of good user experience. Sorry, I just seen what Dave said, that X automatically adds all text to
it does. It's not necessarily the best alt text. Sometimes it'll just say, happy birthday animated or something. So if you want to make it better, you would add your own alt text, because sometimes they'll just say, GIF of people from the office or something. It doesn't give you context necessarily. And so I always add my own instead of relying on that. June says, not the best. It does allow you to edit, which is basically what I'm saying. Yes. So if you're using a GIF on Twitter X, it's better for your friends who rely on screen readers to put your own alt text on those.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that UI is doing better and better is alt text. It's text in general, text to speech or vice versa. And also alt text is improving, but the point is that AI doesn't really understand context. So maybe you're using a happy birthday GIF, but actually the meaning of it is different depending on the context. Maybe you're being sarcastic and it's Christmas and you just do, so and it's always,
there's a million things that say happy birthday. Sometimes it's somebody it's funny, or sometimes it's you want to describe the cake that's on there, or it's happy birthday gift but they drop the cake, like all the different things.
Exactly.
But instead of just saying it's a happy birthday animation, that doesn't really give a lot of context.
It doesn't at all. So that's the one thing, is the interpretation that is lacking in tools that add alt text. Having said that, they I think that's going to carry on improving. But then on the other hand, animation that destroys the UX is the animation that takes away the options, such as autoplay videos, GIFs in emails. I don't have the option to turn them off. I have no other option than run away as fast as I can, and taking away agency as well, because the two guiding principle of UX as well as accessibility is to always give options and agency. Let the user decide. This is very important in accessibility. For instance, when we offer dark mode or a light mode. But it's also a very important principle of UX. There's a lot of overlap between good UX and good accessibility. And above all, animation that destroys the UX is that it takes away well-being. It can last for a while for me. It is very interesting. And actually, at the beginning, I had to take my earbuds off because one of them kept turning itself off. And I am still feeling a bit queasy from that, even though I had it in my ear for a very short time, because I've got this vestibular disorder. It's just does very weird things. And also animation that destroys its UX, when you think about it, it doesn't really add much. Did you really need it? Is it going to change something? And above all, a lot of animations are completely inaccessible. So let's think about these things. Hello, June. I haven't said hello to June yet. So thank you very much for hugely improving my course the other day. So I have two super simple guidelines for animations. There are also WCAG principles on animations. The question number one is, will this animation meaningfully improve the experience? When you decide to use animation in your work, before you do anything else, ask yourself, will this animation meaningfully improve the experience? If the answer is yes, then do it. If the answer is no, don't do it, because it's also it's going to increase the load on performance as well. So why would you do it? Just don't do it. Question number two, will this animation make the whole site invisible to someone? Well, yes.
Like the Mesopotamia
the answer is yes, and don't do it. No, then perhaps do it, but just as long as question number one works as well. And other simple guide, if you do it, if you decide you're going to do the animation, make sure that you follow the pause, stop, and hide WCAG guideline. That's for so basically you need to have a pause, stop, or hide button for anything that's playing. But the thing is that because the WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, are a work in progress, and they don't cover everything yet. So in theory, you can put an autoplay video just as long as you have a hopefully visible button that makes it easy to pause, stop, or hide the animation. But by the time I find the button, I'm already sick. So just don't do an autoplay video. It should be just forbidden, because also it's nobody is interested in it apart from you, and it's a huge loads on performance. It's I don't and on resources in general. Then definitely set it to not contain either blinking or flashing, and it shouldn't last. The blinking or flashing shouldn't last for more than 5 seconds. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, and I apologize if I am. I don't think so. Then for animations, as we were saying, need alt text or captions wherever possible. So if it's a long enough, or a video description even, which you can put in definitely in Blue Sky, probably in X as well. And that's something that we were talking about with June the other day, because she was saying that sometimes you can't turn the audio description off. But I mean, just switch for a non-autoplay video. Have a video there. If people want to watch it, then let them watch it. And let alone sliders. I have there's Lazar Bulatovic, who's an accessibility tester, who's blind, who's quite well known in the WordPress environment. He's given a lot of talks. And with Anne-Mika Bovelet once, we were giving a talk, I think it was the WordPress Accessibility Day, and we did a demonstration of Lazar trying to interact with the Tesco website. Tesco is a huge grocery retailer in the UK, and we thought that it would be a good experience, but it was incredible. But he could not go past the autoplay slider. It was completely impossible for him. So much so that the minute of him going, oh my god, what's going on here, I use in other demonstrations and in other talks, because it blows people away. They're like, I had no idea this would be the reaction for someone. So always ask yourself, can you use a still image instead? And if the answer is yes, just use a still image. Because let's just remind ourselves that our websites, our products need to be usable. You're not creating a visual display or a piece of art. You're creating an interactive tool. So think about making it usable and accessible to everyone, because everybody, regardless of their ability, needs to be able to interact with this tool. And I always close with another quote that's by Tim Berners-Lee, who is arguably the inventor of the internet. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. And that's something else that came up the other day with June in the live, let's call it a live rehearsal session that I'm holding for this accessibility course that I'm building. And June actually pointed out to me that at the moment there's an article in the Guardian newspaper by Tim Berners-Lee, and also an article in the New Yorker. And if people didn't know, Tim Berners-Lee, not only did he came up and promoted and made happen the World Wide Web, he also gave it away for free. It could have been something that we would have had to pay for, but he gave it away for free because he thought that it should be accessible by everyone, regardless of disability. So we need to be the guardians of Tim's vision, to thank him for the huge gift that he's given us. And that's it. I think that is a wonderful close to yeah.
I do want to show one thing, so I'm going to share my screen here. I want to show for David and other people who were saying, I didn't know you could do that. So this is the settings on X. So you would go to more and then settings and privacy. Over here, you would go to accessibility, display, and languages. And then for accessibility, you can turn this on, check this box here that says media to receive an image description reminder. So whenever you're about to post something that's an attachment, whether it's a GIF or an image of any kind, if you try to hit to publish, to post it without adding that description, it will say, hey, wait a minute, don't you want to add a description to this? And that is true for GIFs, even though there's a little bit of a built-in descriptor for GIFs anyway, it still will remind you so that you have to willingly say, no, I don't want to make it accessible to others. So that might be something that you can do, David, to remind yourself to add a better description going forward. So I did want to share that.
Blue Sky has the same, and let's just hang out on Blue Sky. Leave X. Enough.
I still post on X all the time, so
I know you do.
But I have over 20,000 followers there, 20,100 followers. So
I know, that's fantastic, but
it's hard to walk away from that. So
I know, but it's not that. It's much quicker to build a following on Blue Sky than it is on Twitter. How long did it take you to get to 20K on Twitter?
About 5 years.
5 years. It's way quicker on Blue Sky. But anyway, we digress. Not for the first time.
No, for sure. So this brings us to the end of our 10-part series. I do want to say, if you're interested in learning more, you can join Piccia's class. So go to piccianeri.com/ADC, like June did. Friends25, I believe that's a discount code.
It's a discount code. It gives you 25% off the pre-sale price, only until it's like for 3 hours from now, because it's a coupon that I had going for a while, but I just thought, because it's the last time, we can celebrate. And June, June, you know, I'm running this. Oh, bless you, June. Thank you so much. I'm running a bit of an experimental format because I'm pre-selling the course. So as you know, it's always a good idea to make sure that some people want it before you build it.
Yes.
Yeah, but because I don't want for people to be waiting for months, because it takes time to build a good course. I have all the materials because I've done so many workshops and so many other courses, but still, so I'm running rehearsal sessions. And so I'm not delivering the course online, but I'm thinking that it's probably going to be every 2 weeks. People who bought the course receive an invitation to come join me in a live classroom that gets recorded, where I go over what I'm going to teach. And we did the first session this week, and June was there, and so I can get instant feedback. So you help me shape what goes in the course and whether anything doesn't flow. And actually, the one lesson that I thought I had nailed, because it's from a previous course, it was like, no, this doesn't, it needs improving. And now, thanks to having done the rehearsal, I have done that lesson. It's so much better. And it's sort of filled the gaps. So I'm loving the format, because also this will be a pre-recorded course, but it maintains a certain amount of interactivity, because people love online workshops because we're chatting, we're interacting, they love that. So I want to keep that as well, but it will be, and I'm making sure that it will be pre-recorded, and I'm making sure that each lesson is 15 minutes max. The minute I realize that actually it's going over 15 minutes, then it means it has to be 2 lessons. And so I love the idea that people can really just take what they need. You know, one day they think, oh, I don't know how to write alt text for I don't know, something specific that I can't think of now. And so they can go and just watch that specific lesson. Anyway,
very good. Excellent. So piccianeri.com/ADC. And for the next few hours, you can get a 25% discount with the code FRIENDS25, the number 25. Excellent. Well, this has been fun. I have learned so much from you, Piccia. I'm I never think I know everything. And when it comes to accessibility, I feel like I'm still scratching the surface. But I've learned so much from you over the last 10 episodes that we've done. And I want to thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge, not only with me, but with the whole post status community. So thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you so much to you for being such a fantastic presenter and for putting up with my rants, and to post status as well for having us, and to everyone else who has come so regularly, and thanks to you. And I don't call myself, I still always feel like I'm scratching the surface with accessibility, to be honest.
We're all learning, and June puts, she's learning so much and getting clarity. Thank you. So
thank you
we're right
so
there
much,
with you, June. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're not going to be back next week, so enjoy. Oh, this is nice. It's just thank you both for taking time to share the knowledge. Thank you, June. So thanks for being with us. And if you have questions, hit us up at Post Status or on our websites or in Blue Sky or Twitter or wherever. We're always happy to be resources and send you in the right direction to learn more information. And I don't have a banner for it, but next week is WP Accessibility Day. And so there's 24 hours of learning starting at, oh gosh, I can't remember what time it starts at. June, can you put that in the comments for me? It's a Central Time. I think it starts at 10, but it could be 11 a.m. Central Time on my birthday, October 15th. 24 hours 24 hours of learning about accessibility, 10 a.m. Central. Thank you, June. I knew she had it right off the top of her head. Of learning. It opens with Vitaly Friedman, who is the co-founder and editor-in-chief at Smashing Magazine, talking about accessible design, which we have been talking about for sure. And there's just so many amazing talks. Go to 2025.wpaccessibility.day, and you'll see in the upper right hand corner you can click the register button, and that will allow you to register. It is not streamed live on YouTube and other places because we are using Zoom to be able to not only have live captioning but also real-time American Sign Language interpretation. So it will be only on Zoom. So you do have to, it's free to register, but you do have to register to view it live and to be interactive as part of the day. So 2025.wpaccessibility.day.
But the recordings will be available later, won't they? They usually
are. Will, but it's 24 hours of video that has to be processed and bumpered and all of the things, so it isn't immediate. So if you want to see it sooner rather than later, attend live. But yes, it will eventually be on WP Accessibility Day YouTube channel and on the website, so you'll be able to see it all there. So thank you again, Piccia. This has been awesome. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
We won't see you next week, but we'll see you around. And so enjoy. Have a good rest of your day. And go out there and be accessible, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.